In 2019, Koreans everywhere stopped buying products made in Japan. Korean-owned sushi restaurants posted signs announcing that they had no connection to Japan aside from using their cuisine. Why did this happen? And why do Koreans even today have a sour taste in their mouth when it comes to Japanese politics? The Japanese colonization of Korea can be traced back to 1876 when the Treaty of Ganghwa was established. The conditions of the treaty were supposed to be equal between Korea and Japan. However, the terms of the treaty heavily favored Japan. Why would Korea have agreed to such a treaty? Korea had to agree to this treaty because Korea was seeking protection from China. 3 decades later, the Taft-Katsura Memorandum happened in July 1905. The Taft-Katsura Memorandum was a discussion between the US and Japan. The result of the discussion was that the US agreed not to interfere with Japan's actions against Korea. In late November of the same year, the Treaty of Osa was signed. The treaty established Korea as a protectorate of Japan. Japan took over all foreign relations between Korea and other countries. This is significant because Japan stopped Korea from being able to get outside help. In the year 1910, Japan decided that Korea's government was not doing a good job controlling the country. Therefore, with the Japan-Korea Treaty of 1910, they took over Korea's government and started treating Korea as their own country. As Japan started ruling the country, Japan began injecting their own culture into Korea in order to destroy Korean culture. Because Japan ruled Korea as their own country, the Japanese people thought they were better than Koreans and therefore decided to burn 200,000 Korean books. This was devastating to Korea because if you think about it, burning a 1,000-year-old artifact is like burning a country's history. Japan also stopped Koreans from learning the language of Korea, Hangul, in schools. Instead, students learned Japanese. Further, Koreans were also forbidden from learning their own culture. Even though they learned history, the Japanese government changed some aspects of their recorded history so the Koreans would learn a manipulated version of history. The reason the Japanese government did this is because they wanted to replace Korea's culture with their own culture. The extent of this purge can still be felt today. Even now, there are words from the Japanese that Korean people use without thinking about it, even though there are Korean words for the same thing. As Japanese rule of Korea became increasingly harsh, Korea started to claim the country back. On February 8, 1919, 400 students wrote a Declaration of Independence. This Declaration of Independence led to a protest on March 1st. The March 1st protest started at 2 p.m. at Pagoda Park and ended in late May. While the protest started with just 400 students, surprisingly it ended up with the whole country joining in. This shows how much they wanted to claim their culture back. As the independence movement was happening, young people of Korea had started to train to fight back against the Japanese government. Japan did not surrender to Korea immediately. Rather, the end of colonization was achieved as a result of a military agreement between the United States and Korea in June of 1943. The two countries started to train together and eventually Japan surrendered to the combined forces of the US and Korea. This laid the foundation for a good relationship between the US and Korea.